Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Rice News analyst, Emmanuel Ifeni. Great Malabite, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome back, Victoria Tundu, MK Abiola.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ifeni.
Ifeni, before you go on, what color is this?
Leave the color. She's radiant.
You dodged.
It's taupe. You know this. It's taupe.
Now, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of records. The lead story, concern mounts over lawmakers' plan to rig 2023 election ahead of time. Draft electoral bill mandates INEC security officials to take oaths of neutrality, loyalty, to swear not to accept bribe. Party member that seeks appointment into INEC risk jail term. Nomination of unqualified candidates attracts 10 million naira fine. Yes, the peep into the electoral, the bill to amend the Electoral Act, which is expected to be tabled tomorrow in the Senate. Now, already a lot of controversy, especially as it concerns the deliberate attempt to stop the transmission of results electronically. Then the question you want to ask, who is afraid of transmitting results electronically? At a time we expect that we should be making progress in applying technology to the electoral process, it appears the current bill wants to take Nigeria some steps backwards. And I think all stakeholders must resist this attempt. And any attempt to smuggle this bill and just rush it through, I hope it goes through the normal process and there should be proper public hearing so that Nigerians, all stakeholders who are interested in free, fair, and credible election will have their say, not just a few legislators sitting somewhere crafting something to their heart's content that seem to undermine the electoral process. And this day, rightly, put that headline in this way, that this is an attempt to rig the 2023 election ahead of time. Ruben, you have spoken on this before, and I know Rufai and Tundu, you all have something to say on this matter, because this is very serious. Over to you.
Wow. I saw this bill. I got the cracked version, read through it yesterday. Surprising. Surprising that at a point in time like this in our country, this is what we've resorted to. No means possible to bolster democracy. When you read through the sections, through the miscellaneous sections, going through even how the conduct is done, going through the slap on the wrist penalties for erring presiding officers. Slap on the wrist. You're seeing 5 million naira, 6 months in prison for an electoral crime that can determine the destinies of people. And you are very sure that for an electoral officer to commit such an offense, the politician that want him to commit such an offense will give him way more than that amount. In some places, fine of 5 million naira, 6 months in imprisonment, a fine of this or that. It is really, really appalling. And the part, like everybody has talked about, the fact that the presidency of Nigeria now is for sale. I'll put a price tag on it, it's 15 billion naira. You have that, you can spend, because that's what it means invariably. Everywhere in the world, people are trying to reduce election spending. It is only Nigeria
Our legislators, not Nigeria, our legislators.
Our legislators
Yes.
that increase election spending. And only to think that these were one of the allegations against Bashir MK Abiola, that he crossed the election spending mark. So when it's easy for people to play politics, they play politics with that. But now, officially, legislators can increase the election spending. The real sticking points that every Nigerian campaigned for, electronic transmitter of results, they kept on pushing it back. We all remember how the president said he will not sign because comma was not put somewhere, is was not put somewhere, grammatical expression. That period, I was shocked that all of a sudden we've become WAEC examiners to be able to check grammatical blunders or grammatical misinterpretations in a law. But all of a sudden, that same important one, that even INEC had gone further to say that, oh, let's look at the possibility of this in a couple of states, polls coming up, that one was pushed out of it.
Yes.
Just to be able to satisfy their lot. So the question is, what do we really want from this democracy? Do we want it to be developmental, or do we want it to be about ourselves alone? Is it truly democracy, the government of the majority, or pocketism, the government of pockets?
Now, Tundu, the president once praised the introduction of technology, that was what made him to win in 2015 after several tries, 3 times, that they introduced technology and he won.
Yeah,
Is he following through on technology?
Apparently not. Section 50, subsection 2 has been rejected as odious by a lot of people who have seen this draft bill, and people feel that it was smuggled in, to use the phrase that you used earlier, Dr. Abati. They feel ambushed by this section because INEC has made it clear that in order for us to ever achieve credible elections, we must be able to transmit electronically the results, rather than this archaic method that we have been using that is so prone to manipulation. So what we're going to have is state-sanctioned electoral malpractice. It's disgraceful. And you also referred to Section 88, Rufai, and it's so heavily monetized, the election, to the point that it can no longer be called a democratic exercise. It's become somewhat farcical. So I shudder to imagine the kind of elections that we will have in 2023 if this draft is passed as law.
Well, the good news is that we still have an opportunity for further debate. And I think all of us should be looking forward to how this is discussed tomorrow at the National Assembly and what version of it that is brought before, that National Assembly. Because the concern is that there was some caucus, some minority group smuggling clauses into what had been previously agreed upon. If that is the case, that in itself will be a loud comment on the quality of representation that we have. The second point, the additional point to be made, in addition to Section 50, subsection 2, and Section 88, is that somewhere down the line in this same, new draft, there is an attempt to reduce the time of preparation for elections from 2 years to just 1 year. In some other countries, when one election ends, the preparation for the next election starts immediately. They have that kind of model in Ghana. And I was shocked when I noticed that, to say, look, the election, the party primaries will still be about 2 years ahead. Already the process has started. That is to give the populace the opportunity to know your candidate, the opportunity for the parties to put their affairs in order and to organize themselves appropriately. In Ghana, next door, we may need to go and study the model there. But here in Nigeria, the 2 years window is even being reduced to 1. Whereas, whereby, within the course of that constriction of the civic space and time available, there will be no enough time for anybody to prepare, to raise funds. Can you raise 15 billion naira in 1 year? Who is that politician who keeps 5 billion aside or 15 billion because he or she wants to run for election? Except he's a thief, who has been stockpiling money over time. So these are some of the issues that I think the lawmakers should throw up when that matter comes up tomorrow. And we hope, that we will have enough attentive lawmakers, who will do the needful, to borrow a phrase that has been used this morning. And that at the critical time, some people will not be going up and down saying they are trying to use the bathroom. They must sit down and be attentive and make sure that they make intelligent contributions on all the relevant issues.
Yes. We will need to hear from INEC also on some of these provisions,
Certainly.
how it will hamper its operations and prevent the electoral body from conducting free, fair, and credible election. We need to hear their position also on some of these clauses. Now, let's look at other stories. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper, PIB, have the North secured funding for frontier bases, while Buhari withheld assent in 2014 bill. Politics, history of the bill. Now, specifically, if the story highlights Section 9, subsection 5, establishing the Upstream Regulatory Commission, which reads in part, NNPC Limited shall transfer 30% of profit of oil and gas pursuant to subsection 4 of the section to the Frontier Exploration Fund, escrow account dedicated for the development of frontier acreage, and utilize the funds to carry out exploration and development activities in the frontier acreage. This is to ensure funds are strictly utilized for the purpose for which it was established. This portion, Ruben, you commented on, but I think it is vexatious to spend 30% of the profit of NNPC in exploration in frontier, the river basins. We are not even talking of deep offshore, where we have a lot of prospects, but talking about river banks and other aspects. We know how much this country has spent trying to explore and drill oil around the Lake Chad and frontiers in Borno State. So much money. So this amount is vexatious, 30% of NNPC's profit. And we ask, where are the legislators from oil-bearing communities?
It's shocking. It's shocking.
Are they following familiar pattern of working in the interest of other areas at the expense of their own people? The Minister of Petroleum Resources, Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timi Praise Silva, I'm sure if he were still the governor of Bayelsa State and this kind of clauses are included, he will be among the governors to object.
I mean, Mr. Feni, the shocking part about what you said is the fact that we are discounting the monies that have been spent thus far.
Yes.
To put a figure on it, I think NNPC says 30 billion for the Gongola Basin. 30 billion in exploration, with the hope of, we will get a little bit of condensate and oil. It's shocking the way this is going. And I keep asking, what democracy do we really want to build? Even where
seismic tests has shown that what you have there cannot be commercially viable. We continue spending money.
Over $3 billion down the drain, actually.
And now we are now putting it into a law.
Yes, it's been codified now. And look at how long it took to pass the law. Imagine how long it will ever take to pass an amendment.
Where are the legislators from the oil-bearing
communities? To their credit, I do recall...
Where is James Manager, ranking senator from Niger Delta?
I recall him speaking...
From the Ijaw area.
I recall him speaking. I recall Senator Sekibo. They spoke. But when you have foundational issues, like the fact that, look at the House of Reps, for example, the imbalance between the number of Southern senators and Northern senators, the imbalance between the number of Southern House of Reps members and Northern House of Reps members, all these things count. It matters, as we can see.
But they should speak out.
Yeah, but their mouths have not been padlocked.
No, they did speak.
That's what we're saying.
No, but they did speak. I can tell you that you mentioned James Manager. I recall his contribution.
Yeah, okay, James Manager is just one person.
And Senator Sekibo.
Yeah,
I remember those two.
There are more there who are in the relevant committees and who are in a position to speak up, not just on the floor of the House, but also publicly. And the reason we're saying they should speak up is that, look, tomorrow now you will hear, the petroleum industry bill, they have marginalized the South-South. They have marginalized my constituency as if they were not there. But, so the ones who spoke in the House of Reps, yes, they were shut down, but the process is not ended yet. If they were shut down in the House of Reps, when it comes to the harmonization, they should again speak up and make it very clear that, look, this bill cannot pass except these particular issues have been addressed. And when that discussion is taking place, they should be on their seats. That's very important.
And Antunu made a very vital point, Dr. But in all of this, we can't remove the gerrymandering that has happened in this country.
Exactly.
Goes back to 59, 60, MPC, AG days, that the North had more seats, that is you going to do a deal with them for a government of national coalition. We can't remove the fact that gerrymandering has eaten deep into representation in this country, because gerrymandering is the kryptonite for the Superman of representation anywhere in the world. Gerrymandering. So these are the conversations that we should have on the table, because it is only because of gerrymandering that some people can speak out and their voices can be shut down.
You just don't have the numbers. Politics is always a game of numbers.
Yeah, it's a game of numbers, but how you cook up those numbers over time is also very crucial. But let's move on to other stories if we still have some time. The Punch newspaper, 17 Southern governors discuss Buhari's land recovery order for herders. Southern governors worried about grazing routes recovery order suspect hidden agenda. Source: State herdsmen deliberate on Malami's pronouncement activities in Lagos meeting today, while the Guardian newspaper, debt service burden subsidy may push deficit above 7 trillion naira this year. Deficit already 3 trillion naira at end of May. Debt service ratio hits 97%. Now, the Business Day newspaper, market glut as EFCC goes after petrol kings. Yes, according to this report, Africa's biggest oil-producing country is currently swimming in excess supply of petrol because of the move by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to lock a lucrative black market for petrol smuggling and fish out petrol kings. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, banks' aggressive digital drive may spur massive job cuts, while the Daily Trust newspaper, traffic robbers hunt commuters in Lagos, Kano. 871 suspects arrested in 6 months. U.S., India alert citizens. Victims recount ordeals how my friend was robbed, stabbed to death. The other day, Governor Sanwo-Olu was in this program, and this issue was brought to his attention. He said, just wind up your glass. Don't use your expensive phone while in traffic. But we all know that is not the solution. The solution is to apprehend the bad boys and put them where they belong. Try them and jail them. That is the solution. Not that we shouldn't, because when they approach your car and you wind up, they will simply smash your car. It has happened to me twice in this Lagos, so I know what I'm talking about. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, gale of defections. PDP governors take over Ondo Supreme Court battle. Wike meets Jegede as Tambuwal Atiku meets Northern Monarchs. Movement propelled by ambition, fear of anti-graft agencies, party shifting. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, attack on Soka Home. Sunday Igbo sues DSS, demands 500 million naira damages. Accuses federal government of attempting to kill him. Igboho should surrender. Olowu Kuta, Yoruba won't be intimidated, says Kiriji Group. 49 arrested as at Yoruba Nation rally, weapons, charms, others recovered. Protesters were not armed. Ilana Odwa insists police action unacceptable. IMG as mother of girl killed cries for justice. Yes, the Daily Sun newspaper, secession agitation shift to South-South. Ijaw leaders seek UK's support to leave Nigeria, table quarrel before British High Commission. You can go, Northern Group. Afenifere Ohaneze, MBF, we want a restructured Nigeria. Kaigama, Nigeria losing hope, faith in country. Now, the Abuja Inquirer, the city newspaper of Abuja, Abuja Elite School under fire, the Abuja Inquirer. Yes. GBF coalition alleges cover-up. School says parents poorly manage students' health. We are investigating. Police. Yes, this is the case of a student who died in this school, Premier Academy, Lugbe. But again, according to hospital reports, the child died out of complications from sexual assault. We hope the police will get to the roots of that matter. Now, the foreign newspapers, quickly, the Independent newspaper of UK. Prime Minister to ease COVID rule as scientists urge caution. Yes, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, is to push ahead despite likely rise in infections and deaths. But again, scientists are worried that the willingness to accept more serious illnesses and death from COVID, which the Prime Minister seemed to be overlooking. Now, the Washington Post newspaper, urgency in Biden agenda push. Yes, Democrats work fast on key goals. Trillions at stake as they decide what's in and what's out. Yes, Democrats have a chance to press home President Biden's sweeping infrastructure, tax, climate, as well as social policy measures that will transform American lives. But doing so requires them pulling off an incredibly difficult legislative high wire, according to the Washington Post. Ruben Rufai and Tundu, over to you.
Well, quickly, in the UK, the point has been made about how the decision to be taken by the United Kingdom has been consistently driven by data with regard to COVID-19. But it's also to be noted that, some scientists, many of them in the United Kingdom, are also saying that the press conference that will be held today by the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, that there is still need for caution. What we expect that the Prime Minister will say today at that press conference is to, limit the 1 meter plus rule in terms of social distancing, to say, well, the mask requirement has been lifted, and also, that people who have been vaccinated can, ignore certain restrictions. But I think what is important at the end of the day are 2 points that have been made not just by the Prime Minister and Sajid Javid, the new head secretary before now, that one, persons in the United Kingdom will still have to take responsibility for their own safety, and that you must use your own discretion in ensuring that you use the mask in crowded places, particularly indoor. And the second point that has been made before now, that the pandemic, the virus is not going to disappear overnight. That it may well be something that people will have to live with. And there is also that argument about, whether people should no longer work from home, whether, the government, the ministers should lift the ban, should lift the restriction in terms of people going to work in offices. However, yes, with all the progress that has been made in the United Kingdom with the control of the pandemic, what is clear is that the Delta variant has resulted in a higher infection rate, even if it has not resulted in a higher degree of hospitalizations. So there's still a lot of challenge, not just in the United Kingdom with regard to this pandemic, but also in Southeast Asia and even in the United States, where the Delta variant constitutes a problem, even in Israel, where the Delta variant is also a problem.
I think it's just really sad what's happening. The cases are increasing in the UK, but life does have to go on as normal, because really they cannot continue like this.
But caution is the word for everybody.
Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel Efeni.